So it definitely is a different experience being Chinese speaking opposed to English speaking. I guess one of the major differences is how we spend our time, because as English speaking missionaries, they're usually focusing, they have more the focus on the members of the ward who speak English. As the Chinese missionaries, our areas are usually more abstract. Like, you kind of cover all of this, and whereas the English missionaries you cover everyone in this area. We just cover the Chinese people, so if they're Chinese members, we visit them pretty much wherever they are. It didn't necessarily mean that they're always in the boundaries of one ward. There wasn't a Chinese branch. They went to an English ward, and then we would translate for them as well, which is also a different thing. So that was kind of hard sometimes, but you'd sit in the back of sacrament meeting and have like a microphone. They all have these headpieces, and just be translating while the talks are going. And we spent a lot of time on the streets, just looking, because that's where we find them. Like, knocking doors isn't really useful for Chinese people usually, because 9 times out of 10 they're out of the home anyway. There's 2 main groups of Chinese people we work with. One, who I found the most success with when I was there, was the students, because I started in Glasgow and Edinburgh, and there's a few universities in both. They're 2 of the largest cities in Scotland, and so students are all over the place. They're all over the city, and so we just go out and look for them and try and talk to them and find the ones who are interested. And the great thing about them is they're from mainland China, and so, I mean, they know about Christianity, but it's not something they're very familiar with, something they've learned about. Because in mainland China, I mean, in school, they're taught basically that there is no God, and they're taught that religion is something to push aside. It's all about the one, it's all about you, believe in yourself kind of thing. And so a lot of them are really interested in what is this Christianity. We'd love to learn about this, and so it's really exciting to work with them. And they're blank slates all the time, and they're just teach me. So, and it's fun to send them off as well. They go back home to China and hopefully strengthen the church there. The other group is the refugees, or the immigrants who come from China as well. They're usually the ones that you'll find working, and at least over there, they'll work in the Chinese restaurants, and they live with other refugees in kind of government housing. And the hard thing with them is they don't change as much as the students do. So they know the missionaries, and so it's really about the members. They've got to kind of introduce us to their friends, because otherwise, like, oh, I've talked to you on the street like 3 times, and but like, it was like that. Like, I remember there was one lady who we spoke to at least 6 times. She always said no, but then we baptized her friend, and then once that happened, this other lady finally let us teach her, which was really cool, because she saw. I remember what she said. It was actually kind of funny the way she described it, because the lady we baptized, she had had a really hard life, and like, her husband had left her, and she was left with 2 kids, and she was really sad all the time. When she was baptized, she just got so much happier. Her life got so much better. And her friend, who had always rejected us time and time again, she said, "You looked so bad before." She was like, "You almost looked like you were just drunk all the time, because how sad you were." And then, but she said, "Now that you're part of this church," she says, "you just look." She even said she looked more beautiful just because of how happy she was, and because of that, this other lady wanted to learn more. So it's really cool to see the change in these people's lives who sometimes really don't have anything. I mean, they leave their country, and a lot of them don't even speak English, so they're really just out of place. And it's really nice to reach out to them, help them find a community where they can be loved in the church, and find others who believe like them. For the most part, like, we were solely Chinese speaking. If we found an English speaker, we pretty much passed them on right away to the English speaking missionaries who cover the area. So that usually didn't even happen, because usually we're just on the streets, we pretty much walk by the English speakers, and we just look for Chinese people, and then just single them out and just try and talk to them. Sometimes if there were no Chinese people, we'd just start talking to everyone. And I mean, it just depended on the situation, how we felt, who we should speak to. Often when we were knocking doors, because there were Chinese families in good neighborhoods too, we baptized one lady who lived in a good neighborhood, which was nice. But sometimes they let us in. English-speaking people let us in, and it was actually really fun to teach Scottish people. I loved it, and so we teach them, and then if they were interested, we'd pass their information on to the English-speaking missionaries, because they were the ones who had that authority to teach the English speakers, whereas we were the ones who taught the Chinese. And we didn't always have lessons every day in Chinese. We usually did. We usually had at least 1 or 2 a day, either member or investigator. But the interesting thing, as opposed to the English speakers, where lots of times the English speakers find lessons with people who would meet with them, we usually only found lessons with people who were really interested. Like if we found someone who was willing to meet with us, there was a pretty high chance that we get baptized. Especially if it starts going consistently. Because I guess just that first hurdle of actually meeting with us was a big step for a Chinese person. And if they did that, then we were pretty confident that things would go well with them. Because, like I said, a lot of times we work with students or young single adults, and there was a community there at the church. They'd love to come and just meet with the YSA, and they always were able to integrate really well, which was a great blessing, because we all have the young single adults that we had there, and there's always a senior couple there as well who would work with the young single adults, who were always a great tool to help with our investigators as well. It's really important to work with the ward leadership as well, because especially the bishop, like it's his duty to help those investigators and members get integrated into the ward. And that was one of the hard things, is because they're English speaking wards, is getting the Chinese people integrated. So it's something you really have to be on, really be in sync with the bishop, and work with him so that he'll let you know what he wants you to do to help them be integrated into the ward. Because they are culturally different. They feel very separate from the Scottish people. They're like, okay, we're here in Scotland, but we're not Scottish. And so sometimes it's just a matter of helping them feel like they are one family and that they can help each other out. So that's something you have to work with the bishop with. But yeah, so I've had a really good bishops in my mission. I really respected them. So I feel like just to make sure as missionaries to be close to the bishop and to make sure that you're listening to his counsel. So